Right guys, welcome to a new video. Sorry my voice is a little mucusy here. I'm a little sick, but it just snowed here in Wisconsin, but it looks like it's all melting right away. So probably no snowmobile videos coming up. But it's after Christmas, after the holidays now, so everything's kind of winding down. So we can get back to schedule on things. I've had the biggest reaction to the CR80, and a ton of people want me to get on this thing, so we're going to start this project here today and get this thing down to the frame, take off the shocks. We're going to test out the ultrasonic cleaner with the bolts. So this project we're going to try to use as many original parts as possible, but if we can't find the original part, we're just going to buy a brand new. For example, the plastics are going to be pretty tough to restore here. If I can restore a few of the plastics, I will. Obviously the seat cover is going to have to be replaced. It's not the best. See, there's some rips and stuff in there, so we're gonna have to replace the seat cover, stuff like that. Well, we can restore the rims. We'll get some paint stripper and restore the rims, but the frame will be powder coated. I did get a quote on the powder coating for the frame and the swing arm and the controls. What else was gonna be done here? Oh yeah, the brake calipers and stuff like that. To have that sandblasted and powder coated, a guy quoted me at $300, which I thought was pretty fair, so that's not too bad. So that'll make everything look brand new. This will be all brand new right here. We're gonna get new sprockets for it. We've got to get a couple more things for it. We've got handlebars coming. A subscriber actually went on Amazon and ordered handlebars for it, and he ordered some grips as well. So he spent, I think he spent $93. So he's got 93 entries for the contest. And as you guys know, I'm giving this bike away at the end of the restoration. So one of you guys who donate will be winning this bike. It's going to be pretty much spotless by the time I'm done with it. And if you guys look on here, we've got 18 donors and $215 raised. So if you guys want to donate, you will get an entry into the contest for every dollar you spend. So we've got 18 donors and 215 entries as well. Your chance of winning right now is very good. It's 1 in 18. So if you guys want to contribute to this project, go over there to GoFundMe. It will be linked in the description, and you could potentially win this bike, which would be awesome. I'm kind of sad that I'm going to have to get rid of it, but it'll be a nice learning process going through everything on the bike. But today we're going to be doing the frame. Gotta get these bearings out of the steering stem. We've got to get the shocks off of here. We've got to get all the bolts off of here, put these in the ultrasonic cleaner, get those all prepped, and get the whole frame prepped, get all the grease off of it, so we can send this frame in. And then the other thing I want to do is get all the parts laid out for what I want to get powder coated today, and then go through the top end of the motor and see what the cylinder looks like and see what kind of piston's in there. Is it stock? Is it big board? I have no idea. So let's go through the motor and the frame, and once we get that stuff done, we'll see if we have enough time to move on to anything else. But let's start with the shocks, getting those off and getting this thing down to the frame. Alright guys, first thing we gotta do is take off these bolts right here and take off these forks. These just pull right through on both sides, and then that whole mechanism should come off, and that's pretty easy to do. So let's crank those off here quick. Alright, wheel is off, so that's good to go. We'll put the nut back on, and we'll be ultrasonic cleaning all these bolts and everything, so these will clean up pretty nice. Hopefully these forks aren't stuck in there too good. Let's see. All right, one fork off. These are gonna have to be rebuilt. I mean, look at that. I mean, there's like no oil in there. The oil is drained from this plug right here. I don't know if you guys can see that, but we'll check and see if there's any oil in there once we get the other fork off. I'm guessing no oil. Oh, you can kind of hear a little bit, but probably not a whole lot. Alright, second fork off. Wasn't too bad to do. We'll check these for oil in a little bit. Alright, now that that's off, let's put these bolts back in and then continue taking off all these parts. I think the handlebars we're going to take off next. So the next thing we're gonna have to do, since the handlebars are off now, is take off the triple tree. There's bearings underneath here, probably ball bearings if they haven't been replaced, but we'll see what's underneath here. There's a big bolt right here, a washer, and then the pipe pushes all the way through, and then the bottom pulls out. So let's do that quick. Alright, so the triple tree is off. You can see the bearings are actually in pretty good shape, so we'll probably reuse those and repack those. What we can do is put these right directly into the ultrasonic cleaner, and those should clean them up pretty good. I got a bunch of degreaser, so that should work awesome, and then we just repack them. This one actually feels a little bit loose, we might replace this one. But these definitely need to be repacked. There's absolutely zero grease on these. But the shaft looks good, no scrapes in that or anything like that. So all the bolts are pretty good. No, I don't see any wear on any of those. So we can definitely reuse this. And what the plan is going to be for the triple tree is to powder coat the triple tree, the top ends and the bottom end of the triple tree. And I think that'll look really nice. So now that we have the bare frame, we're going to take out all the bolts and try to organize all the bolts and try to organize all this other stuff in the buckets and see what we need to ultrasonic clean and see what we need to send away for the powder coating. We need to take a couple things off of here yet, so we'll do that, and then we'll check the forks and see if there's oil in those. Alright, so I'm not sure with the powder coating if you're supposed to take off the subframe and do it separate from the actual main frame, but I took it off. There's a bolt right here, bolt right here, bolt right here. I wasn't actually aware that this thing even came off, but I decided that we're just going to do it separately. So powder coat this one and then powder coat the frame, and then what we're going to do is, if we have to grind off a little bit of these right here, because that's going to be a little bit thicker, so it might not fit directly in there, we can just grind off a little bit right here and then paint it up with some spray paint on the tips of these to prevent it from rusting. But I thought that was a good plan. So what we're going to do now is just kind of clean up the frame and take off all the bolts on the frame and the subframe, and then we're going to try out the the ultrasonic cleaner, and then we're gonna put them in little baggies, label them, and then we should be good to go there. Let's go onto the forks now and see if there's any oil in these. So the bolt at the end is where the oil should come out of. Let's just zip that off and see. Should be interesting to see if there's any oil in there. Alright, so there's quite a bit of oil in this one. You guys can see me just squirting that out. Let's check the other one. Alright guys, so there's some oil in that one as well. These are going to have to be rebuilt. You can see there's a bolt down here that connects the actual mechanism from holding it in. So what happens is there's a rod that goes down here, and there's a spring right here, and then this whole thing pulls out of this canister, and then you can rebuild it with different springs, and then you can refill it with oil, and then you can fill it with, I forgot the name of the air, but there's a little attachment right here where you can compress it with, I forgot the gas you compress it with. It's not compressed air either, like the air compressor, because that makes it rust. But there's a different kind of air that you put in there, and yeah, those all have to be to spec. So what you do is we could probably put new springs in here. These feel a little bit worn, and then we're going to strip these down. So you can see it's yellow and black. We're going to strip this down with some paint stripper. Then we're going to paint it back to the original stock color. And these aren't going to be powder coated. These are probably either going to be painted with spray paint or just polish. And you can see that there's a couple gouges in here, like right here. We're going to have to try to sand those out before we paint it, because it's a pretty big gouge. But I want to use these original parts because it kind of makes the bike look cool, I think. You know, in the history behind the parts and stuff like that. So this one, the other one, looks like it's in a little bit better shape actually. There's no big gouges that I can see in this one, so this one might be turning out a little bit better. Alright guys, we got the ultrasonic cleaner all set up here. We've got water, we've got the Simple Green I'm going to be using. I've heard good reviews on that. So on the back of this it says to use, for heavy duty, use 1-to-1 dilution. So for example, 1/2 cup of water to 1/2 cup of Simple Green. We're going to start out with a little bit like this, and then test a couple different batches and see what works the best. But then you just fill the water up to the mark right there. You put the parts in the basket, and then you're good to go. So I think we're gonna put the setting on high heat and then leave it for 5 minutes. We've got to get all these bolts and stuff organized here so we don't lose any. You can see I put all the bolts back into where they came from on here. So we're going to have to label this one main frame, subframe, and then all these parts have to be gone through. So I'm just going to pour some water into here. And then we're gonna set the temperature. Alright, so you can see the temperature down below is set to 55 degrees Celsius, and it's heating up right now. You can see it's going up in temperature, so that's what the actual temperature is right now. It's 20 degrees Celsius, and then we've got the timer set for 5 minutes. So right when we click the on-off button for the timer, it sets the timer, put the parts in, and then we take the parts out when the timer goes off. That's basically all you have to do. And the concept behind this is it uses water particles, I believe, to loosen up dirt and debris, and that's what happens. You can see the water moving pretty good now. I don't know why it is, but it's kind of strange. But yeah, we'll wait for this to heat up and then get going on adding some parts to this. And I'm curious to see how well this is going to clean up the bolts. Alright, while we're waiting for the ultrasonic cleaner to heat up here, which I think it is. It hasn't been moving at all. We're going to put some of the bolts into different bags. I labeled this one subframe and this one mainframe. So we'll put the mainframe bolts into the mainframe bag, and obviously the subframe bolts into the subframe bag, and then do the rest with all these. Today we're trying to get to the motor today. I want to take off the head for sure, and obviously we're going to be able to take off the cylinder too. It's only 4 bolts. So we'll get to the motor, and then we'll take a look at the reads, and then we can even put the carburetor in the ultrasonic cleaner today, possibly. So yeah, let's get doing this and take off all these bolts, put them into these bags here quick. Alright guys, it's been like 5 minutes and this thing's only at 22 degrees Celsius still, and it's gotta get up to 56 or 55. So we're going to, since we have everything labeled now, most of the stuff labeled, we're gonna work on the engine. I wanna see what the piston looks like, I wanna see what the cylinder looks like, see if there's any scratches in the cylinder wall. We might have to have it replated, and then we're going to look at the reads, and then take apart the carburetor and see if we can clean that up a bit. We obviously need some new hoses for the motor right here. You can see this one's all kind of crappy. We're gonna get the top end off for sure, and then probably the sprocket and all that good stuff. See if that cleans up. if we take a look at this gasket, it's not the greatest. There's residue left over. You can see that there's little cracks throughout the whole entire gasket. You can see, look at how worn that is all the way around. If you look at the edge, it's not completely flat. You can see where it's like little indents in there. You see the little chips out of the edges. And then let's take a look at the actual cylinder head here. We'll take a look at the cylinder first, and then we'll take a look at the head. So you can see it's pretty worn out throughout here. It does not look the greatest. And then if we look at the head here, you can see it's pretty flat, but it's just needs to be cleaned up and just gone through. You can see all the gunk laying in there. It's really, really dirty. All the gunk is compiling in the different areas. Probably gunky oil and coolant mixing in there. So it's really not good. So these definitely need to be cleaned up really, really well. And let's take off the cylinder right here and see what that looks like. First, I want to look at the reeds. So let's take the reeds off first. So let's take a look at these reeds. This is a good thing to go over. These are completely, you can see completely through them. If you look at that, the gap in there is about, I don't know, it's pretty big. If you look from the side, oh, that's a good perspective right there. You can see how wide those are. So those are just toast. A lot of people flip these around and reuse them, which you could do. But these look like they're just plastic reeds, which is, they're not carbon fiber or anything. So they might not bounce back as good as carbon fiber. But yeah, you can see how big of a gap that is. That's just insane. I don't think I've seen one of these with that big of a gap before. But yeah, and then this little thing went right in here as like a little stabilizer. But the other thing I wanted to show you guys was, which was, good thing we took this thing apart. If you look in here, look and check this out, what's inside the port here. So there's actually, I don't know if you guys can see in there, there's actually debris from the air filter, if you guys can see that. And that's all in the cylinder intake port. So that's really, really dirty in there, and the piston is literally hitting all that stuff. And it's just, I know it's foam, but that wears on the piston, and it's not good for the cylinder wall. So good thing we took it apart while we did, because I'm guessing this thing would have blown up pretty quick if it was getting all that crap from the air filter box. So let's take off the cylinder and see what the piston looks like here. Alright guys, so the cylinder's off, and if I run my finger through this, just along the wall here, there's absolutely zero scratches, so that's awesome. Zero scratches in there. I can't even see a scratch, so that's really, really good. Let's check out what the piston looks like now. I'm guessing the piston looks pretty good, but we'll have to just check it out quick. So, top of the piston looks pretty good. No carbon on there at all or anything like that. It says in right here, so in port, I guess is that side. Must be an old piston. Usually they have arrows pointing towards the exhaust port. The play in the rod isn't too bad. It doesn't have any up and down movement. So I think the bearings and the rod are good. You can see no play in there. Side to side there's a little bit. So there's no play up and down, so I think we can save these bearings. Obviously the top end kit comes with a bearing kit for the piston, but we can change that out and just throw that one away. But let's take a look at the rings here, or the ring I should say. It feels pretty worn. It's hard to tell. It looks, I mean, I can just take that right off the piston really easily. It closes though, so that's good. So it was working a little bit. There's a couple scratches on the piston, nothing too major. But yeah, there's no big gouges or anything, so it was doing its job. I'm guessing this is the stock piston, just by the looks of it. And yeah, so that's good. That's really good. So what we're gonna probably end up doing is just honing it out, and then scratching up the surface a little bit of the cylinder wall, and then putting the new piston in. So it shouldn't be too bad. All right, let's get the piston off of here. So there's two little rings that you can get out with the needle nose pliers on either side of the piston that hold the piston on. So we're just gonna crank those out, and then the piston has a rod. I forgot the name of it. Right through the piston. So you can punch that out with a punch, and the piston should come right off with the bearing. Let's do that. Alright guys, we got the piston off. So what I'm looking for is blowback from the rings, and there's no brown right here. Usually if the rings were not good, it would leave a brown residue and leak. I think it's like leakage would come down the cylinder. You'd see brown all the way down here, and that would be oil and stuff escaping the rings. So that looks pretty good. The top doesn't have much carbon, so that means it's running pretty good. No carbon built up. That's always a good sign. And the crank, you saw me cranking it over, it cranks really smoothly, so that's another good sign. So I think we're in pretty good shape here. I thought the piston looked in pretty good shape for the age. And if you guys know how to tell if it's a stock piston, let me know in the comments. Alright guys, as you can see, it says 48 degrees Celsius, and it's supposed to be 50. We've let this sit for about 30 minutes now. We're going to take each of these bags, starting with probably the mainframe bolts, which are pretty gunked up. You can see there's paint on the end of it. You can see all the grease on it, stuff like that. We'll start with these, dump those in for 5 minutes and see what happens. Those in there, and then hit the end button. That's a really annoying sound, I can tell you that. Alright, we'll let that sit for 5 minutes, come back and see what they look like. Alright guys, looks like this is done. Let's check it out and see what these things look like. Alright, so they definitely look a lot cleaner. You can see all the different bolts in there. The paint did not come off of them, but all the grease did. All the threads used to be filled with grease, and most of them came off. And most of the grease came off the threads, you can kind of see. So that's really good. I'm going to leave it in there for a little bit longer and see what happens here. Alright guys, second time for 5 minutes. Let's see what these look like. Alright, these are looking pretty clean. All the grease is off the bolts. There's still a little bit of paint left. You can see the paint still on here. I don't know if it's going to take off that paint or what, but didn't do it yet. Otherwise, every other bolt is like spotless. Alright guys, so one batch done. Next up is going to be the motor top end bolts. These are pretty bad. I'll dump them out here quick so you guys can see them. Disregard the spark plug. But we've even got the bearing in there. You can see how gross looking those are. So those are pretty bad. We'll dump those in the container and see if this can clean that up. Alright, batch 2 going in. Could look a lot better. Not perfect. The top bolts are not perfect for sure. They're pretty pitted, but other than that, I mean, everything else came off. Alright, we're going to test one more batch. These are the sprockets and the bolts for the motor. These are like really gunked up. You can see it's just completely gunked. So let's see if this takes care of that. Alright, those cleaned up pretty good. As you can see, the sprocket is no longer all crappy looking. That looks pretty good. That bolt didn't do very well. This one did really good. Maybe put that more towards the middle and go for a little bit longer here. Right guys, while we've got the last round of the ultrasonic cleaner going, I do have a few more bags to go, but I think for today we're in a pretty good spot. I've got all the parts ready right here for powder coating, just have to send these out. So we've got what we've got is the main frame. Oh, that just got done. We got the main frame, we've got the subframe, we've got the swing arm. I took out all the bearings and stuff in there, so that's all clean, and then I took out the wheel adjusters in there. We've got the little brake hub right here, the back brake hub, and then we've got the top triple tree part right here, and then we've got all the little control pieces right there. And then for the bottom of the triple tree, we're going to paint that black because I don't want to mess with the bearings or anything. So we're going to paint that black, and I don't know if they can tape off this and not powder coat that, so we're just going to leave that. And then for the brake caliper, we're going to paint that with some high temp paint. And then same with the brake master cylinder, we're going to paint that with black paint. I'm debating on whether just to use these and powder coat those, or to just get brand new foot pegs. I don't know what to do with that yet, so I'm not sure. With the motor, we've got everything pretty much done here. I need to take up the clutch cover next video and go through that. We need to pick up some reeds. I gotta get a new top end kit and gaskets, and then water pump seal, and then we should be good there. And then we can start working on the motor, painting that up, getting that all stripped down, and that'll be good to go. So that'll be next video. We'll start digging into the motor next video, getting some new sprockets for it. As you can see, I took off the old sprocket and everything else. The shifter is welded on, so we're gonna have to take that off eventually, probably next video. I'm pretty stuffy right now, so sorry if I sound weird in the video, but everything else is pretty much done. Just have to do all the bolts with the ultrasonic cleaner. We did 2 bags of them so far. We did this bag and the other bag right there, and those turned out really good. I'll leave a link for the ultrasonic cleaner in the description, and I think you guys can pick up some Simple Green. I'm not sure if that's the best kind to use, but that's what I've been using, and it turned out pretty good. Anyway, this build's coming along. If you guys want to donate and enter the contest for the giveaway, that will be in the link in the description. Again, each dollar you guys donate to the project will be an entry for you guys to win when this thing's finished. So anyway, hope you guys enjoyed the video. My Instagram is 2_vintage_. If you guys want to go follow behind the scenes, I post a lot of stuff on there, and it's pretty good. So definitely go check out 2_vintage_ on Instagram. We're almost to 9,000 people on there. Hopefully next video we can do a snowmobile video. You can see it's snowing pretty good out here right now. So hopefully we get another 6 more inches. Then I can start looking for some sleds, doing some cool stuff in the snow. But anyway, hope you guys enjoyed the video, and until next time, we are out.